All right, hey guys, it's Axe. It is Tuesday, August 8th at about 12:40 p.m. Eastern Time. And we had quite an interesting day today. Well, really, it's been an interesting couple of weeks. And God, I could just go back and say it's been interesting all around, right? So we had this massive rally. We've all lived through that. And we got a little bit of a sell signal, which triggered right around here. And the way this scrolls is a little wonky, so you'll have to forgive me, but somewhere right around here on July 24th, July 25th, we got a sell signal, right? We actually ended up taking out a little bit of a high and then coming back down and getting confirmation. And that has happened before, sort of similar to what we saw happen in like the end of December, where we got a little bit of a sell signal and then it bounced and then we got a final confirmation. So this has happened before. There's precedent for it. Sometimes we get lucky, and like in February 2020, we got it like right, well, let me zoom in. Right around the top within a day or two, and in 2018, the temper tantrum, we got it a couple days in advance, right, to a week. So I just want to remind you, I know there's a discussion about it. The sell signal, it just depends on the conditions, right? The conditions always change in the market. If we're going to have a quick flush, usually the sell signal manifests quickly and then it's over. If we're going to have a longer duration event, sometimes it can take time for that to set up. And in this case, we sort of had like a double signal. And, that sort of confirmed it. And then we got the selling, which also confirmed it. So there's no like set, this is how it has to happen. It happens the way it happens, right? So we get a signal, whether it's 3 out of 4 or a full 4 out of 4, and then we wait for selling confirmation, and then we wait to see the reaction. And if the reaction is muted, meaning that there's not immediate capitulation, then okay, now we're in business, and let's start to sell rallies until we see a bottom in. So that's kind of where we're at. One of the things I mentioned today was that we sort of reached capitulation, or I'm sorry, we're near capitulation, but a lot of that already was monetized at the lows today. So what I'm seeing is like this reading was up here near the green as we've gotten closer to lunch, and I always say that we got to watch it through lunch. And let's see it, because usually that's when it locks in, right? So they monetized early, tells me they bought the dip. If you're a believer in the cards, as many of you are, the cards say that we could rally tomorrow and Thursday, so that would explain a lot of that. At the same time, we're still elevated, right? So even if they monetize, let me get this scroll to the right position if I can, wonky stuff. Even so, the put call isn't at capitulation, right? But you can see this is getting really extended here, and we're really extended here. And at this level before, we were already at the low. We're above this sort of December level. We're above, I'm going to have to go back further. Like the last time we saw something to this effect was April, right? And that gives me my point, okay? So in April, right around here, we tried to get to capitulation on the put call. We never got there, right? We just sort of hung out and chopped, but we never fully reversed and committed back down here to euphoria or euphoric conditions. We sort of got this lower high here, which told us, and it started to roll over, which told us we were near another low. And that gave us a pivot, one more spike, and then down we went to the final low in that instance, right? So in this case, we had capitulation in the put call. We had capitulation in this indicator. We were very extended, like we are now. And we had capitulation on this lower indicator, right? So you can see right here, this is near capitulation, very similar to what we saw in this April, very similar to what we saw in January. And really very similar to what we saw in November. And so because we've had this sort of bear market, condition for, from the end of 21 into basically October of 22, almost a year, we have to be careful because, the indicators could be telling us that we're in a situation like this, right? We've extended a lot of like fear. And what this basically shows is the power of the selling and the effort and the attempt at selling, right? They're using a lot of effort. They're exhausting a lot of energy. These are just energy meters. That's a better way of putting it. Excuse me. Well, we're down to SPX 4475 from like 4,600. Okay. So that's not a huge drop. Whereas, in April of 22, we had already set lower lows, or lower local lows, I should say. And so the point is we're expending a lot of effort and we're not getting nearly as far, which is why something like this could be more likely, where we never really fully reached capitulation. We did reach it on some of these lower indicators. Excuse me. But I still don't like that look either. That was leading up into the bear market. And here from March of 23, we still would need lower prices to extend this up into these capitulation ranges. This one is near it, but we're still not there, to be honest. So what I'm expecting is, we didn't really extend into capitulation today. And I think if we were going to capitulate near term, today would have been a good day to do it. In other words, I think a lot of our downside momentum stalled. And so what that tells me is that we're looking for this to sort of roll over. We're looking for this blue and orange to cross or attempt to, this blue needs to round out, right? This indicator needs to round out and start to bend over. And then we know that we're nearing a permanent low. But for now, even the structure, if you look at it, we're at, double bottom maybe. We'll see what happens tomorrow and Thursday. But in general, we spent a lot of energy. We're not getting a lot of downside as a result, but there's still room to the downside. We've got this whole area here from like 4200s to 4320 that could use some cleaning up. Will we get it? I don't know. I know there's some gaps below on SPX and SPY, NDX, all that stuff, right? So what we're waiting for is basically we're waiting for this to get to capitulation and tell us, hey, this move is over. That's one I shouldn't say move is over. Get to capitulation, we sort of form like a double top with divergence, like you can see here in the big crash in 2020, COVID. We reached capitulation and we started printing lower highs here. That's the divergence I'm talking about. So we're looking for something like that, something like we saw in any of these periods. But you can see in most cases, we rarely reach the put call into capitulation, except honestly into bull markets when people get short the market and think that we're going to crash and we don't. And it's usually coming out of bear markets, like in 2018, right? So we got up here before, and that was near the low. But you could see it took some time for this to roll over. We finally got capitulation, very similar on this indicator. You've seen me post this fractal. You've seen me post this fractal. Who knows what we're doing here? But we've got to wait for basically capitulation and on a longer term event, lower highs to start to develop, build some divergence, and that's when we know the bottom's in. Or we look for these to basically just roll over and somebody to commit to calls. And what you'll see is something very similar like we saw in March, where all of a sudden we start immediately rolling back down. And that says, okay, this was just a short-term selling event. Or we look for something in between. But we are really extended to the downside without a lot of gains for bears. So I think bears are really probably sold the whole this morning. And my guess is they could be squeezed. But that doesn't mean the move is over. We would need to recover. And my voice is just a mess. I apologize, guys. It's been a rough couple of weeks with everything going on. But we would, for me to be happy and say, okay, this selling is over. It'd be nice if we got beyond like 45.70s on SPX. I could see being like a liquidity fill, like we've done in the past, and then going back down. I would really like to see a higher high, and then we know, okay, maybe we have a chance at continuing the rally. So for now, I'm not really super excited about buying the dip because we don't have capitulation, we don't have indicators rolling over. We have some economic events coming up. I'm not really excited about buying the dip. I'm just more looking for a signal, right? So if we rally and yet the indicators still don't roll over, that's a good time to get short. And if we rally and make a new high, then we know, okay, it's time to bail on those shorts. So there's a lot that can happen. I just don't expect a lot. I wouldn't do a lot this week. I wouldn't press it because, as you've seen in my models, I think we're in a bull market. I don't think we're going to crash and retest the lows, but you always have to be open to any possibility. Let the market tell us what it wants. But I think we may grind out a longer correction here just to sort of shake people's faith and get people short and then squeeze the hell out of them later. So, for me, downside targets, if we get really lucky, we're at like 4,200. I could see us coming down and double bottoming on like 43.30. We still have some to clean up here. So, we could bounce up to 4,700 and then come back down. Who knows what's going to happen? That's why we watch the indicators. So right now, we're waiting for capitulation and a slow divergence to occur. The alternative to that would be a capitulation with a huge V-bottom rally with a breadth thrust, like double back-to-back 80% upside days or a single 90% upside day. And if that doesn't happen, we're waiting for the indicators to roll over and sort of like this blue to cross over orange to the downside, calls to be committed. Maybe as we get lower prices or as we chop, and then we'll say, okay, looks like everybody's buying the dip, get ready to roll. So that's where we're at. I still don't think there's a lot to do right now. I think if you are a long-term thinker, this is still a good time to buy some value and some bargains. It doesn't mean that they're going to bounce right away. This is going to be a long-term thing. But I think, getting a chance to buy down here at SPX 4400s may not be a bad thing. I'd like to get a better price. So that's why I'm sitting on hands and just sort of waiting and getting through this. So I hope that helps. Feel free to ask any questions as always. Thanks a lot all.